Hello and welcome to this mini lesson from inside the PE portal. Today we are going to be looking at two different terms, personality and motivation, and what it looks like in sport. We're going to start off on this side here, which is personality. And we have two. Neither are better or worse, they are what they are. But before we get there, we need to know what personality is. And it's the sum total of a person's characteristics. So sum total of characteristics which makes someone unique. So no two people are the same, and it's a combination of a number of different factors. It might be their level of aggression, it might be their aptitude for talking to people or their communicative skills, it might be their natural levels of self-confidence, it might be the speed of their thought, it might be their sense of humour. There's lots and lots of different things, and there's lots of theories out there that go into how many factors of personality there are. But what you need to know is that the personality is a sum total of characteristics, of personal characteristics that when combined make someone unique. Now, there's also two broad categories that people can fall into. Now, very rarely will someone be an extreme, one or the other, all the time. They might be extreme at certain points in time, but then they might slide up and down the scale according to their mood, according to the situation, and those around them. But we will highlight both now. A person can be introverted, or they can be extroverted. Extroverted. But like I said, imagine this more as a scale. Introverted at one end, extroverted at the other, and someone can be anywhere between the two at different points during a day, let alone week, year, and life. So it's a sliding scale, and neither is better or worse. They are just their own different categories. So, introversion, what does this typically incorporate? Well, these people tend to be a little bit shyer. They tend to be a little bit slower in their thought processes, making them more methodical. They might not jump into something instantly. They might want to think it through a little bit more, which might mean that they make slightly better decisions over the long run. They might like isolation. So they might prefer to be by themselves or with a few people that they know and trust inside and out, rather than being in open, spontaneous environments. So they might be quite shy, they might be slower, they might be more methodical, they might be isolated, they might be quieter. On the other end of the spectrum, however, we've got the extroverted personalities, where we can always just flip all of these into the opposite. They tend to be louder, faster, social, so they enjoy communicating with other people. They like the spontaneity, I should put spontaneity, of new environments. So if they're with lots of people in a brand new place, they might like to make the decisions quickly. So quick thinkers. Now that doesn't necessarily mean good thinkers, but just quick thinkers. So introverted and extroverted. So how does this actually relate to sport? Or if we just look at some of these descriptors and then just take away that word introverted and apply it to sports, we'll start to get a list. So quieter, slower, big thinkers. Perhaps things which require huge decision-making skills like snooker or martial arts, perhaps shooting. If they're slower and they prefer to be precise, is another word that we can add here, then accuracy sports and activities might intrigue them. Things like golf might suit them as well, where they can go out for hours on end by themselves if they wanted to, and then just be by themselves, working away methodically on quite rhythmical processes. Whereas the extroverted people, who like to be louder, with larger groups, with social groups, they might prefer team sports or team activities. They might like the fast-paced nature of invasion games, whereby at the flick of a switch or the turn of a whistle, suddenly the whole environment might change and they've got to adapt on the spot. So this is typically your individual pursuits, like athletics, golf, archery, shooting. Extroverted people typically go towards more invasion games or team games. So that's personality, introversion, extroversion. Now let's take a look at motivation. So motivation is the drive to doing something. It's the why. I think in the lesson that goes alongside this revision video, there's a line that I put in. With any why, you can overcome any how. So why is greater than the how. It's the drive to do something. What inspires someone to get up and go through a process? What's the outcome that a person wants? Now, we've already spoken a little bit about just that word there, outcome, whereby people might be a little bit more outcome orientated opposed to performance or process orientated. And the general train of thought within the field of motivation is that process-orientated people do better than outcome-orientated people. And it's to do with the nature of the rewards that come with motivation. And we've got two. We've got intrinsic rewards, or intrinsic motivation, and extrinsic motivation. So think of these as like reasons for why people behave the way they do. The reasons might come from within. I'll just put that there. Within. Typically these are intangible. No one else can see them or experience them. They're not real. They're happening inside someone's head, in their soul, their heart, without being too deep and meaningful there. But intrinsic motivation, the reason or the drive behind doing something, the why they get up out of bed at 5 a.m. to train, why they stick to a diet plan through year on year on year, why they go to painful sport massage sessions. Why? Because they have rewards that come from within. So that it might be things like pride, it might be satisfaction, it might be the feeling you get from making progress. As a nice phrase or term, self-actualization. It's that journey or process towards reaching your potential, actually becoming as good as you possibly can be. And that might be enough to drive someone to be their personal best. Extrinsic, on the other hand, is from outside sources. Now these can be intangible as well, so intangible meaning being not real, tangible meaning something physical which you can hold or touch. There's an E there, sources. So this might be something like a trophy. It could be money. It could be applause if you're playing in a stadium. It could be the approval of someone that they look up to. And a role model, for example, saying, well done, very pleased, I'm surprised how well you did. That might be why someone sticks out the training, because they want that praise from someone else. It might be that they want to come first or get a gold medal. Whereas someone who's intrinsically motivated, they might get more pride from a PB, a personal best, than they would if they came first. So there's been times where the winners of a race, the winners of a tournament or competition, they've won something, they're the best, but they haven't been their best. They didn't get a new record for themselves. So in actual fact, they're a little bit demotivated, a little bit demoralised, a bit disappointed by the win because they didn't get the intrinsic reward that they were working towards. So how does this all tie back up into outcome and process? Well, within sport, those who chase the outcomes often fail. Because when they don't get an outcome, when they don't get a reward, when the rewards go away, so does their motivation. Whereas, if someone is motivated by the process, if the reason they get up in the morning is to get better that day, not for any other reason other than to get better, because they want to make progress, because they feel good by getting up and going to training. It's those people that make incremental progress all the time. They can stick out bad seasons where they don't actually win very much, because winning isn't the biggest thing for them. It's turning up, making progress, being steady. That's what reward they get. That's why they keep on doing what they do. And typically, those people, they last longer in the sport, therefore they spend longer training, therefore they reach higher levels, and they reach higher levels of success. And that is that. So personality, introversion and extroversion, the two ends of the scale, and motivation. We have intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, both of which can be intangible or tangible. Extrinsic is linked to outside sources, whereas intrinsic is linked to sources that come from within. And that is that. So I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next one. Bye for now.